This interview was recorded at the Psychedelic Science 2025 in Denver, where we spoke with leading voices in psychedelic research, therapy, spirituality, and policy. Jeremy Rudy is the founder and CEO of Sabba Collective, an organization that accelerates the safe and sustainable integration of psychedelics into society. His work is at the intersection of science, policy, and culture. We discussed how he helps to shape a future where these tools are used with integrity and care through various initiatives, including the University Psychedelic Education Program. So Jeremy, can you tell us what Sabba is about?
Yes. What we're creating is a training and education ecosystem for psychedelic-assisted therapies with a partnership of universities, leading universities, organizations, and experts. So I like to think we're co-creating this. Now, what does that mean in practice? My background is in higher education partnerships and ed tech. Most recently, I was at Coursera. Through our going public and global expansion, I was head of product for degrees. And I wanted to bring my skills and passion for education and network into helping this space, especially as we move into mainstream approval and adoption, around the critical need for training and educating not just therapists, but all the other critical roles in the healthcare system, cardiologists, prescribers, doctors, and preparing the sites of care, the clinics, as we get closer to approval. So that's a little bit about Sabba. We just launched last week. We've been working on this for over 18 months in stealth mode, and putting together not just our technology platform, but our partnerships. And last week we announced, in partnership with what's called the University Psychedelic Education Program, or UPEP. And this is a consortium of now 32 universities across 22 states in the United States that are integrating psychedelic education into their degree programs, starting with social work and nursing degree programs. We'll be expanding next to medical schools, psychiatry programs, public health, and our next cohort's opening up in September. And there's a lot of work to do with universities in particular. And one of Sabba's partners, Brain Futures, just did a study on how many universities have integrated psychedelics, and it's very few, right? As you can imagine, we've decades now of the drug war where teaching and talking about psychedelics and researching was mostly prohibited. Now we recognize, quite broadly recognize, that this is coming as part of the future of mental health, and universities are far behind and they have to catch up. So right now, only 5% in this Brain Futures study, 5% of university graduate programs in health have any material with psychedelics. And the interesting thing is, that's in parallel to the vast majority of those same universities believing in the efficacy of psychedelic therapy in these faculty, and that it's coming soon. So they know it's important, they know it's coming soon, but very few have done almost anything to integrate. And that's what we're providing with UPEP and on Sabba. They get access to not just in-person training, immersive training, they get access to a curriculum library, and then a directory of experts across every discipline that they can hire for curriculum guidance, for guest speakers. They get a directory of supervisors to pair with their students, and a nationwide network of practicum sites as part of this platform experience, and more. I'll stop there.
So how would you convince an educator who is uneducated about psychedelics, maybe uninterested, that they should care about this subject?
Well, I don't think it's our job necessarily to convince those still on the fence. I think that's happening through media stories, and that's happening through the science that's being reported. We already have a huge interest and openness with faculty and with practitioners right now. So we're starting with those that are interested, right? And they're interested, but they don't know what to do. They don't know where to start. And a lot of them are here at the conference. So we had a panel around this, integrating psychedelics into coursework, and almost half the hundreds of attendees were faculty that are ready to go. They just don't know where to begin, right? How do I start creating curriculum? Who do I hire to help? And so there's a large number that just need help to get started. And the others will come, right? As medicines are approved, as more science is published, as more stories are told, more and more will be ready to jump on. I've worked with universities 15 years, and what's neat about universities is there's always the early adopters, the pioneers, and we're proud that the UPEP program started with a pilot with UPenn Nursing, which is one of the top-ranked nursing schools in the country, and Columbia Social Work, top-ranked social work. So these are elite schools, not just in the US, but globally. And they're leading the charge by integrating this. And so that turns heads, because universities don't like to be left behind, right? And so they look to each other, who's doing what. And then, they need to get students. And so this is now a differentiator for Columbia, for UPenn, and will be for these other schools. The incoming generation of college students and getting master's degree programs know that this is important, right? And they want to be prepared. And so they want a degree that's going to prepare them for their future careers.
Mm-hmm. Do you focus on US universities or globally?
Right now we do. This program is starting with US universities, and it's backed by US philanthropists. But on Sabba, which powers the UPEP program, we are creating really a global platform and community, and with a lot of partnerships that we'll be announcing soon in Europe and Australia, and even some partners in China that are starting to integrate this. And so this is really a global community that you see here at MAPS, and we want to represent and hold space for that global community on Sabba.
So if I represent a European university, how can you assist us?
Yes. Well, right now the UPEP program, that's our partner, is just for US universities. That will expand to Canada in due time. However, we will have a lot of resources on Sabba, from conference videos, research papers, AI learning companion that can even help faculty, that will be available mostly for free for faculty to use and start integrating into curriculum. So we're going to be launching some of that later this summer. Right now, Sabba is invite only. It's for UPEP community and some other professional associations and learning communities. And we have a number of partner organizations from MAPS, Shakruna, Memoru, Heroic Hearts on the veteran side, Psychedelic and Pain Association focused on chronic pain. They are onboarding to Sabba right now, bringing content onto Sabba, and it's together as a community, we're sort of preparing Sabba to share with the world.
Mm-hmm. I mean, apart from Sabba, how do you see the current setback with the FDA rejecting the MDMA clinical trial?
Yeah, well, it was a setback, and at the time with Sabba, we were orienting our strategy around FDA approval, and that required me personally to step back and say, okay, is this the right idea but at the wrong time? Do we need to come back in 2 years? And I talked to a few others in the space, philanthropists, practitioners, researchers, and while it was a tragedy, there was also a shared feeling that this gives us a beautiful window of opportunity. In many ways, we didn't feel like the space was ready. And what do we mean by that? Well, there's a lot of what I consider to be infrastructure, right? Training and education infrastructure. Not just for those trained, but standards around training, credentials, practicum sites, supervisor networks, pieces that are ready for what we have a good sense of what's coming. We don't know exactly which medicines can be approved first, what the REMS will be, the precise requirements, but there's a lot that we do know that we can get prepared for. That inspired us with Sabba to pivot and focus first on the universities and building that infrastructure. There's an immediate benefit for the universities and the students and the ripple effects there, but the secondary benefit for the space is we're getting 32 top-ranked universities involved. It helps with destigmatizing, right, adding credibility to the overall space. And so we're doing that work to now build this network and be really prepared for what's coming. We don't know exactly when it's going to be. I feel a tremendous sense of urgency to bring the right partners together and build this ecosystem, build this infrastructure. And it's very early from a market perspective, right? And we say infrastructure, infrastructure is usually funded by government, right? If you have the Olympics coming to your city, you start investing in infrastructure 2 years before. You don't wait for, the Olympics to start. You're building your trains, you're building your hotels, your roads, and your airports. And so in this space, we have less government investment. We have philanthropy, and we have patient, very mission-aligned investors that are helping us build this infrastructure together.
So did you feel that the investors were less enthusiastic after the FDA?
Certainly, yes, certainly most of them. But I think that the beautiful part of that is those were investors that were, saw it as a quick opportunity perhaps to make some money, right? The investors that are really dedicated and are taking a long view they see this as a delay, not a denial. And in fact, share my view that this gives us a very time-sensitive opportunity to make the right preparations and be prepared. My personal belief is that this could come much sooner than many people think. It could happen first through the VA in a limited way. It could happen because of the changing government attitudes at the federal level, right? There could be some kind of greenlit, short, smaller pilot program. And so we should not be waiting around, wait and see. We should be actively working as hard as we can with intention, with the right partners to prepare.
How do you see the potential of psychedelics outside of clinical setting? Like you can hear about Silicon Valley retreats and all this stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think there's going to be many access pathways. And we see that state and federal, but we also see spiritual and religious use, which is actually the container that I've had the most personal benefit from in healing in my family. And I have tremendous respect for. We see that thriving as well. We see the new churches with ayahuasca and psilocybin that are getting greenlit or granted these exceptions with the DEA. There seems to be new precedents being set there all the time. There will be some that try to abuse that pathway, but I think the government is taking an open-minded but still very careful approach to evaluate the sincerity of these churches or religions, right, with these medicines. And so that legal openness and support is paired with this regulatory openness that we're seeing with HHS, FDA, SAMHSA, and the DEA. And so, we will see some that, are recovered in the media as kind of cliches of, Silicon Valley, people love to do drugs. And whatever is a good headline will sell. But there's a lot that is less reported on, but very sincere and very beautiful that will continue to thrive.
Would you like to share more about your personal past with psychedelics?
Yeah, so my career background is 15 years in ed tech and higher ed, and I had a really beautiful career working with different education companies, with universities moving online and helping scale up really high quality programs. And I really burnt myself out in my last job. As a company, Coursera went public, scaling globally. I was taking red-eye flights around the world. I was doing meetings all hours of the day. And like many during that COVID era, I just was working all the time and worked too hard and wasn't balanced. And so I really crashed out of that job, and I was in a really tough place. I felt very broken physically. My back went out mentally, I would say even spiritually. And I felt very stuck and not sure what to do next. And I tried various other forms of therapy, psychotherapy twice a week, physical therapy, chiropractic, massage, acupuncture, right? It just felt like nothing was really moving me forward. And I think I was still very much holding on to the past, identity, successes, failures, mistakes, all of that wrapped up, and I wasn't moving on. And so I found some healing in this work, and it was in the underground, right? It was in the ayahuasca, Shipibo lineage. And it was really a moment where the weekend itself was beautiful and healing, and I felt some immediate benefit. My back pain went away. I might be contributing as a case study to psychedelic and pain because my chronic back pain disappeared in a weekend. But psychologically, emotionally, and beyond, that was just the beginning of a healing journey. And what happened was I worked with an integration coach and kind of blending somatic therapy and IFS with clinical psychology over the course of 12 to 18 weeks. And in the course of doing that, I was introduced to a lot of the incredible therapeutic modalities that are paired with this work, and learn that really the psychedelic experience is just the opener, right? And as Gul Dolan calls it, the opening of the critical period, that gives us an opportunity to work through the trauma, the attachments, whatever might be coming up. And I had a lot that was coming up. And so that was more of a 3 to 4 month window of healing. And when I came through that and I was on this, decided I would take the sabbatical to heal, recover, and figure out what's next. After I came through this healing, I became just immensely curious about understanding these healing tools and saw them as, I'm a technologist, saw them as healing technology. And first it began as curiosity, and it was on the flight to PS23, exactly 2 years ago, that I had the idea for this company and even the name Sabba. Because I was on a sabbatical, and I was writing the word sabbatical on my flight here to Denver 2 years ago, and I saw within the first part of that word, Sabba, and I was feeling like this company idea, which I thought of an hour earlier on the flight, needed a name that would represent not just the company and the platform, but the intelligence that I knew we would be creating. Because I saw this as an opportunity to create really kind of an AI native learning platform. I've been thinking about what that would mean for years while I was at Coursera. And a platform that was AI native would be building the intelligence even before kind of the normal user experience of a platform. And that's what we're creating. What we talk about with Sabba, we're harnessing the collective intelligence of this ecosystem. It's existing intelligence across all of these organizations, universities, individual experts, with diverse wisdom traditions and lineages. We're harnessing that and turning that into an evergreen educational training resource. And we're doing that in a lot of exciting ways that I'm excited to share soon. I don't want to talk too much about, but it's coming very soon. So that was part of my journey and journey into Sabba. And Sabba has, beautiful meaning across many languages. Short from sabbatical. Sabbatical means a deep healing rest in Greek, in Hebrew. But it means the all or interconnectedness of our reality in Pali, the pre-Sanskrit liturgical language of Buddhism. It means a morning breeze in Persian, the spring equinox, and it means grandfather in Hebrew, Sabba, sort of allude to our ancestors and ancestor wisdom. So that's a little bit of the story.
How do you see the future of Sabba and the psychedelic field in general?
Yeah. Well, this is very much the opening inning. This might be the end of the beginning in the grand scheme of things, right? We're focused with Sabba on training and education for we call psychedelic therapies. There will be many iterations and generations with different molecules and different therapeutic protocols and healing modalities from IFS and somatic that pair well with this. They'll be focused on different medicines in different regions, serving different populations with different conditions. So there's a vast diversity of training and education needs. I think within the next 3 to 5 years, we have this tremendous opportunity to help integrate psychedelics safely and sustainably into society. And if we do that, if you really zoom back in history, this will be the first time psychedelics are integrated in society, in the Western society, since you might say the ancient Greeks with the Eleusinian mysteries. So it's been about 2,000 years, right? If we can integrate it though, and we get that right now, it will be with us for all of the future of humanity, perhaps as we colonize the stars. So this is a really cool window of time to work with. I think we'll see a proliferation across state programs. I think we'll see in the next few years the FDA approval, perhaps limited to start, of multiple different medicines. And then we'll see the community of practice of practitioners across many healing traditions really step in to support these approved medicines with many different types of training programs and modalities. And through that, we're going to see what works. And we're going to be able to capture and look at the data and discuss that at conferences like these and learn from each other. And it's going to get better and better. At the same time, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I think my real hope is that psychedelic therapies aren't this big breakthrough, exciting thing. They're just integrated and they're just here with us. And it's not going to be for everyone. And a lot of people, once they've had even a single experience, they don't need to have one or feel called to for the rest of their lives. And that's completely fine. And some people will never want or need to have an experience. And so they'll just be with us, like many other medical and cultural breakthroughs at the time that just are now part of the new status quo.
Yeah, as Alan Watts said that if you receive the message, hang up the phone. Or
Yeah. And after the ecstasy, the laundry, right? Chop wood,
Jack Cornfield.
make fire. Yeah, Jack Cornfield, yeah. Chop wood, carry water. Ultimately, there's much to do, and these medicines can help us heal. They can help inspire. They can help enrich life, as the Shulgins really looked at them as. whether they're natural or synthetic, but ultimately they're a tool, very powerful one, to help facilitate all of the other work we have to do on this planet.